listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants with hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, and Ben Lee.
Let's go Giants! SF Giants! Let's go Giants! SF Giants! Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball history, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Torture Cast, podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. This is episode 47, the Beck episode. My name is... screw it. I'm jumping out the window. I really do feel like jumping out the window.
Why the long voice, Willie?
My name is Willie Dills, by the way. I'm joined, of course, by Chad King. Welcome, Chad.
I'm not going to ask how you're doing because I think we all know the answer to that.
I think we all know how we're all doing right now. This is a Giants podcast. The Giants podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants, the greatest team in Major League Baseball history. Unfortunately, we're also all fans of the Golden State Warriors. And the Warriors were winning by 18 in the fourth. Yeah. And found a way to lose in double overtime. Just crushing loss tonight. And so many, we could probably talk for an hour about this game. We could probably talk for an hour about the last 4 minutes of this game. But
it's hard to believe that you and I could get three other guys and still blow an 18-point lead with a few minutes left.
Yeah, no, I think I could just go in there and I could just hustle on defense and do something. I mean, I wouldn't be able to score, but yeah. But anyway, just honestly, the Warriors down the stretch. I'll just say this. First of all, we saw a little bit of odd refereeing towards the end there, but I won't blame that for this loss. What I will blame for this loss is the fact that the Warriors decided to stop playing basketball at the end of this game. I don't know what plays they were calling. They were basically calling no movement ISOs, and the entire game, the reason we had such a big lead was moving the ball, running screens, getting wide open looks and playing hustling defense and getting rebounds. And then suddenly, the very end of this game, first of all, Bogut's not in the game. I can't wrap my head around that. And you've also got, you got Klay Thompson fouling out on some really stupid calls. I mean, and also just not smart play by him anyway, just to have a call be even an option. But
all I can say, it was really conservative play calling. I think it's the equivalent of just running the ball with a big lead in the NFL and maybe playing a little zone defense when that team's down by 3 touchdowns and they can sneak back on you. But the problem is that there's not like, the Hail Mary in this game. It's just, one play at a time. Yeah. And it really didn't make sense the way that they were heading those last 3 minutes.
No, with 8 minutes left, they started to basically play not to lose, and that's too much time left. You still got to keep playing. You got to play the game that got you to that lead. And, I'm not sure why after the way they closed out all these games in Denver, they didn't learn their lesson yet. But if they haven't learned their lesson by now, then they're just not going to learn it. I mean, and I got to put all the onus on Mark Jackson on this one. Like, I think as great of a coach as he's actually been for us, he's also really mismanaged some games down the stretch. And there's been some times where I'm really confused about the team he's putting out on the floor. I don't understand why he went away from the team that got him that lead, and he went to this this very small lineup that was just kind of getting physically dominated there towards the end. But anyway, and if we can say anything about this game, we can say that we at least proved that we can take it to the Spurs if we play the way we're supposed to play.
Yeah, but I thought for sure that they were going to snap that losing streak that they've had since, 1998?
1997, I think it was. They're saying that...
Yeah, I thought it was in the bag, but...
Yeah, they were saying
clearly,
that,
I think Mark Jackson thought the same thing.
Yeah, they're saying Tim Duncan was in college the last time that the Warriors won a game in San Antonio. So, but it was just ugly all the way around there in the fourth quarter. But
it was a distraction from the Giants last night.
I actually barely watched it. I had the Warriors game on my TV, and then I streamed the Giants game and had that on the projector. But I could barely pay attention. Not only that, but the fact that the Giants were down, 3-0, then 3-1, then 4-1, 5-2. It was like, and
against Cliff Lee.
Cliff Lee was just pitching out of his mind tonight, so just didn't look like the Giants were going to be able to come back in this one, even though the Giants have proven that they can basically come back no matter what. And that's one thing that I think we can all feel pretty damn good about. When we last did this podcast, we just lost 5 in a row, right?
Correct.
And that was a week ago. The podcast took a little bit of time to come out. I'm sorry about that. Everybody who heard it understands why it didn't come out that night. But the fact that it didn't come out the next day is just because, I had the file up on the computer, uploaded it, and the upload failed, and I went to work. And so I didn't get to come back and actually get in front of my computer at home for like another day and a half almost. So finally got that show up. Really glad to have had Eric Nathanson on the show. He was a great guest, and we had a really good time. So, and then we move on and we win 6 in a row. So let's just feel good about that.
So you're welcome, Giants.
Yeah. So Eric Nathanson clearly had something to do with that. But let's feel good about that in the wake of this crushing Warriors defeat. Couple of notes about that 6-game winning streak. It's a good way to erase 5-game losing streaks. First of all, is go ahead and just sweep 2 teams in a row. But not only that, now we have swept every single team in the National League West.
Isn't that strange?
And we're very early in the season. Yeah. We're 5 weeks in now? I think 5 weeks in. So to have swept all 4 of the other teams in your division, first of all, I think that gives you a mental edge that you can do that. You can stomp on all these teams if you need to. And they know that they can get stomped on by the Giants. So I think going into the rest of the season, that has to give you a good feeling, right? The Dodgers, we just own them right now, and obviously they're a little bit of a hard luck team. They lost 9-2 tonight too against
to
Arizona. So they're just going through it right now, and I like to be happy when the Dodgers are struggling, but I didn't like to see Hanley Ramirez get hurt. I don't like to see that type of stuff. I don't like to see Greinke. I don't like to see all these things happen. I would like to see the Giants play against the full strength Dodgers
squad.
Team.
Yeah, you don't want to beat the injured squad, but
And I fully believe that the Giants are capable of beating the Dodgers at full strength. I think a lot of people probably think you match these two teams up just talent-wise, the Dodgers have the edge, but I really think that the Giants do have an edge as far as overall team capabilities, I guess you could say. Not just raw talent, but the way the Giants have the pieces in place, I think they are a stronger team overall. So good to see the Giants starting to play good again. And there's a couple of reasons why they're starting to play good, and we're going to get into that when we start talking about the rest of the week in review. But let's talk about where we're at right now. So we are in first place, right? Half a game ahead of Colorado?
Half game, yeah.
And second best record in the National League even after a loss tonight?
I had to correct that. It actually, after the loss,
third best.
It did drop to third. St. Louis and Atlanta do have better winning percentages, but hey, they're up there. So for everybody who was crying after losing 5 games, you win 6 out of 7, and boom, you're top 3 in the NL. So
yeah, you're right back in there. And let's point out where we were last year. You compiled this, so it's 32 games in. Where were we last year at this time?
2 games under 500 at 15-17, and of course the Dodgers were hot last year at the early part of the season. We were 6 games behind LA, and here we are sitting a half game ahead. So that's a 6.5 game difference already.
Let's point out a couple of things too. The Dodgers had ungodly Kemp and ungodly Ethier last year. Mm-hmm. The Giants, on the other hand, had pretty much no one playing beyond their capabilities at the start, but we have a much worse ERA right now at this point from our starting staff than we did at this point last year.
Yes.
And yet we are in a far better position as far as the record goes in the standings in the National League West. So to me that says, first of all, Dodgers aren't playing at an ungodly level. But second of all, that the Giants offense is capable of holding up a pitching staff that is not performing to its capabilities. So this is a huge sign for us that if the pitching staff can actually pull it together, if these guys can pitch the way they're capable of, and Matt Cain won his first game yesterday.
Isn't that crazy? The opening day starter, our quote-unquote ace, won his first game in his 7th start or 6th start.
Yeah.
And 7th.
And he's had a couple of actually really good games. I mean, you talk about opening day, he pitched almost 8 innings, 1-run ball. Basically Kershaw beats him single-handedly in that game, but still he had some very terrible games in that stretch as well. But he has pitched well enough to win a couple of games, but it just didn't take until May. So it's a pretty phenomenal stat to think about that, and think about the fact that we're not only are we in it, but we're up. I mean, we're up on everybody else. And the Rockies had a really hot start, and we're above them now. So, I think as Giants fans, we have to feel pretty damn good about what's going on right now with our team. And I mean, offensively, I think some people are starting to click. So Panda has actually really come around. He was never really faltering necessarily, but he's really started to kind of find that stroke from both sides of the plate right now. And there's some really interesting stats.
No matter where the ball's pitched.
Yeah, there's some really interesting stats with him. One, that he has a much higher batting average on balls out of the strike zone than anybody else in baseball.
Yeah.
And he actually has a higher average on balls out of the strike zone than balls in the strike zone, which is just weird. But there's also, I think, the fact that I don't think he sees balls in the strike zone unless it's like, a 3-1 count or maybe an 0-2 count and he gets nibbled, basically. I don't think anyone's throwing him strikes. And so he's just not seeing strikes, so that's just what he's dealing with. And he's a funky player. God love him. But he's really, really kind of showing us all what he's capable of when he's swinging the bat good.
A couple years ago, I used to get upset at him when I see him swing out of the strike zone. But boy, you bring up that stat right there, and you just can't.
No, you can't. This is how he plays baseball, and it's not the way you're going to teach anybody to play baseball. But some guys just kind of have that. Some guys have that ability to do things that no one else can do.
If you're going to get mad at Panda for swinging at balls outside of the strike zone, you might as well get mad at Hunter Pence for the way he throws a ball.
Yeah, exactly. Over your shoulder, buddy. The hand goes above the shoulder. Yeah, but it doesn't seem to matter. I mean, when he threw out, now granted, Hanley Ramirez pulled up lame about halfway down the line between second and third. But still, that was a fantastic throw. And you look at Matt Kemp's throw that got Buster Posey, and Matt Kemp has a much more traditional throwing style and looks like a guy who was trained correctly at a young age and everything. And he floated that ball down to home plate. And just because of the extreme slowness of Posey, that's why Posey got thrown out. But, I love seeing a guy like Hunter Pence play baseball, and he's just phenomenal. Right now, he's absolutely crushing the ball. I mean, he's just raking everything.
That ball he hit in Arizona was absolutely mammoth. 460 feet of pure muscle. I don't know. He just muscled that sucker out of there. It was insane.
With a good 2 inches that he chokes up on that bat, too. And he somehow finds the power to do that kind of stuff. So you know how strong this guy is. But also we got Scutero coming around. I think he's hit safely now in 7 out of his last 8 games.
Yeah, and coming into tonight, I think he was 4 for his last 5. So, he's been heating up.
And we honestly, all we really need out of this guy for a full year, I mean, we're not going to get 362, but if we get 280 out of this guy, out of the 2-hole, with the professional at-bats he puts on, he's going to be a huge factor for us for an entire season. So I'm really, really happy to see that, the slump was just a slump and it wasn't just, oh my God, we made a bad signing and we got this guy for 3 years and he's not worth it, and stuff like that. I don't think any of us really thought that, but obviously there was a little bit of talk of that and there's a little bit of concern when a guy starts out that cold after you just gave him a contract. So good to see him coming around. And then, of course, Posey is kind of turning back into regular Posey at this point. Now, none of us assumed he was going to slump the rest of the season or anything like that. But, we were all just kind of waiting. And, when he started hitting the ball again, I think everybody said, okay, all right, now I'm feeling good. And the ball he hit in the 9th inning against the Dodgers, God, that was just a thing of beauty, man. It was like I went out. We were at Hockey Haven watching that game.
Oh, were you?
And that's a bar in the Richmond. It's like right across the street from Balboa Theater. And it's it's funny because it's called Hockey Haven, and the Sharks have a playoff game on. One TV is on the Sharks playoff game. All the rest of the TVs in the place and the sound is the Giants game. So you got to know like that this is a baseball town all the way. Even a bar called Hockey Haven is, and that was a really good Sharks game. The Sharks scored with 1 minute left and an empty goal. So, I mean, it was a crazy game for them too. But, it was a really fun game to watch. I mean, watching Zito go up against Kershaw, anybody's going to pencil that in as a win for the Dodgers, And, Zito pitched him strong. Zito got all the way through I think he got into the 7th or the 8th and kept it close.
Just one run.
Kept it close, and then in the 9th inning, guess who's leading off? Buster Posey. That's not a bad guy to start off an inning, and he just tattoos one into the left field bleachers. So that was just one of the funnest games of the season for me. Followed up by maybe the best game I've seen since the playoffs for sure. But I mean, maybe one of the best games I've ever seen, especially for a Giants-Dodgers game, where it was just back and forth.
It was a classic, yeah.
Giants were up 5-0. Then they're down, 7-5 or something like that.
They went up 5-0, and then they were still up 6-1, and then go down 8-6.
8-6, and then it becomes 8-8, then 9-8 Dodgers, then 9-9, and then guess who? The other catcher, Guillermo Quiroz, comes up and tattoos a ball and knew it instantly. I mean, he hit that ball and immediately started cheering. I mean, he knew. He must have just, peered that ball, because as soon as he let go of the bat, he was pumping his fists and everything. And it was really cool to see him get into the action. It was weird, though, that was Posey's first walk-off hit.
Yep.
And that's very
strange.
First
walk-off hit in the major leagues.
That's very, very strange to think about, as the guy who you kind of expect. But, I mean, also, you got to think about he's the guy that will get pitched very carefully in walk-off situations. So that's kind of one of his only real opportunities to do that, is unless, you got bases juiced, or you got first and second, or you got bases empty. I mean, those are the only times he's really going to see pitches to hit. So it was really, really good. You know who leads the Giants this year in walk-off hits? Do you know right offhand?
Oh, God, offhand. No, I don't.
It's Brandon Belt. I think Brandon Belt has done it now.
Oh, that makes sense.
3 times, I think. And the Giants have done it collectively 11 times now. Walked off the field with a win. And that's nuts. Again, 5 weeks into the season. We've seen some really, really strange baseball up to this point.
They're becoming the A's of last year.
Yeah. But so the Giants are doing some weird stuff. The offense is clicking. The pitching's still not there, but I think we all have to feel pretty good about where we are at this point in the year, especially considering what's happening around the rest of the National League West. I mean, I don't see the Dodgers, at least for the next 2 months maybe, until everybody gets healthy, putting together any kind of significant run at us. So.
Like you said, the offense is carrying the pitching right now. We're 10th in ERA. It was better than last week. It was second to last just a week ago. So it shows you how a young season, the stats can change very quickly.
Oh, absolutely.
But number 2 in average behind the Rockies. And anytime the Rockies lead one of these offensive categories, you just kind of throw it away, because you're like, yeah, it's Colorado, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're third in runs. So I mean, they're doing really well.
Yeah, so they're scoring runs, and that's really the only stat that matters, is runs scored. So, all right, so let's talk about the big question. Obviously, we just talked about the pitching, but there's one guy in particular that we do need to talk about, and that's because he really hasn't had a single solid start yet.
Well, I struggled with this. I filled in Vogelsong again because we talked about it last week. A little bit of Kane, but mostly Vogelsong. So I don't mean to beat a dead horse here. But as far as big questions on the team, the offense is doing really well right now. Comeback wins. Kane's turning it around. He's lowered his ERA in 3 consecutive starts. He got his first win, 7 shutout innings. The other pitchers are holding their own.
Well, Lincecum has had a couple of good starts now. So
yeah, the bullpen's been pretty solid. So he's really the big question mark out of the 25-man roster.
Yeah,
absolutely the big question mark right now.
And even if we talked about it last week, I mean, the issue has not gone away. He's kind of continued. His starts are basically all the same. They're all about giving up 4, 5, 6 runs and not being able to. It's what it seems to me. I don't see him walking a ton more guys than he used to, but it's like he's just not. Like when he's missing in the middle of the zone, not off the corners down low. He's just missing right down the middle, and these guys are raking him.
Average against is 3.15 now, which is that's
never going to work.
Awful.
Yeah, that's never going to work. And you look at Tim Lincecum when he struggled, the batting average against was still very low. It was just the walks. So Vogelsong is just throwing up. He's just throwing BP to these guys. And, we're all rooting for him, man. But, geez, I don't know. It's so early that you can't really make a decision about it yet. You can't
it's way too early for that. Yeah. And guys on Canberra are calling for his head and saying, you got to put him in the bullpen. And then the host just bring up the obvious point. Who the hell are you going to put in his place?
Yeah, there's nobody. There's nobody
who
to
has
do that.
The tenure or the experience that he does. You can't just throw a random AAA or anyone in the bullpen up there. Hey, let's throw in Runzler. Let's throw in, this guy and just see how they do. You just can't do that.
No,
so
I agree.
He's just got to work it out. I think you got to give him till All-Star break.
Yeah, no, if he's still struggling with the All-Star break, you got to consider. But I think what you do is you make a move and bring in somebody from the outside. There's nobody that we can just bring up that's going to fix this problem. So it's way too early to start knee-jerk reactions. It's way too early to start panicking. We've seen Vogelsong struggle. He struggled towards the end of last year, and he found a way to get it done in the playoffs. So, he's definitely, if anybody's worked through adversity and gotten through it, it's this guy. So while he may be struggling right at this very moment, I say, let's mix an armchair manager in here. I'm going to tell Bruce Bochy to just stick with this guy, let him work through his stuff, let Rags get in there into the bullpen with him. Him and Gardner and Rags and everybody just work it out. You guys figure it out, because I think they're all smart enough that they know what's going on here. And it's just you gotta paint those corners. Like, that's where you found your success, was painting the corners with the fastball. And he's got to figure out a way to get back to that, whether it's mechanical, whether it's confidence, whether it's mental. He's got to find that way to fight through this situation.
Yeah, I think a good thing or a good exercise for me would be to look at his heat map of where hit balls are being thrown in the strike zone, where balls are missing, to see if there's any difference from last year, because that might be a good point. He just might be nibbling, and it's just sliding across. He's just missing his corners, and instead it's catching too much plate, and that might explain the batting average of balls in play and just the batting average against. I mean, his velocity is down about a mile an hour, but I'm not going to say that's the problem.
Yeah, but that's happened. That's happened to so many pitchers, and
that's what I mean.
Yeah, if your velocity goes down a mile or so, your other pitches probably go down a mile or so too. So you're mixing that in. The speed differential is still the same. So I don't think that's what's the cause either. I think it's got to be just where he's spotting these balls. It's just not where he was last year. So we're gonna give him some time, and in the interest of doing a short show, we're gonna move right on.
Take it easy, buddy.
Take it easy. You got this, buddy. So now we're going to do Tweet at Me, brah. And I got one here. This is from somebody who follows us. I kind of want to start doing some of these with people who follow us, just because, if they follow us, the chances are good they might listen to us. And it's good to give them a little shout out to our followers. We don't have a lot of them. So King Eyeball King tweeted at us at TortureCast, walk-off homer in the bottom of the 10th, or as the Giants call it, just another day at the yard. And, that's really how it's been feeling lately. It's every single time it happens, it's amazing. Yet at this point, it's almost like we expect it. We expect the amazing. Oh, I'm absolutely feeling spoiled. I mean, so I watch a hockey game, and then I go to Kilowatt the next night and get to do it all again with a brand new group of guys who I've never met in my life. I get to go hug and high five a bunch of people, and it's fantastic. I love doing it. So, big shout out to everybody who's tweeting at us, and we're tweeting out, and this is exciting stuff, and I'm glad to be right in the thick of things with this team right now. It's just so fun. What do you got, Chad?
So this is a little silver lining to the Warriors game tonight. Wendy Thurm, otherwise known as Hanging Sliders, tweeted out, and this is right after the game, well, at least the Dodgers will be in last place in a few minutes, so there's that.
There is that. Friend of the show, Wendy Thurm.
And I was
Thank you.
Really? Oh, I had actually confirmed that. I had not realized they had been sliding down that much. They've lost 5 in a row. They are below the San Diego Padres.
Ay, ay, ay.
They are literally in last place right now.
Wow, that is terrible.
Giants in first, Dodgers in last. Doesn't get much better than that.
No, that's where it's supposed to be. All is right with the world. Yeah. So, all right, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna take that I'm gonna have dreams about that tonight. I'm not gonna think about the Warriors. The Warriors are only down 0-1. It's all good.
Hey, I tell you what, at least I'm way more of a baseball fan than a basketball fan. If this was the equivalent of the Giants in, let's say, the NLCS blowing an 8-run lead in the 9th inning.
Mm-hmm. Well, you gotta also say that the Warriors are completely outdistancing all expectations of them.
They're gaining a lot of national media attention, and Curry is obviously a bit of a rising star right now. Yeah,
but no one expected them to contend, period. So to have already beaten the Nuggets and to now have gone up 18 to the Spurs, and we lost the game, but I think everybody's kind of realizing, okay, these guys are actually potentially for real. Now, can they close games? That's the next question. All right, new favorite guy. Chad starts off.
little Hunter Pence action because of that lumberjack swing he took in Arizona. He had another bomb tonight, went 3 for 5. So he's picking it up, but he's showing no signs of the discomfort or uneasiness, or maybe he was trying to do too much last year. None of that seems to be manifesting itself in his performance. He's hitting 280 right now, raking the ball, knocking them in. He's got his bombs and his doubles. So I think he's on pace to hit 25, 30 home runs this year. If he hovers around 270, 280, this is the guy we thought we were getting.
Oh, absolutely. So, it's funny.
He's my favorite guy.
I read somebody tweeted something out about the Phillies.
And he eats a lot of kale.
Yeah, a ton of kale. Kale, Brussels sprouts, all that stuff. But somebody tweeted something out about the Phillies, or it was in Reddit or something. But I went over to a blog post from someone on SB Nation who's a Phillies writer. First of all, this blog post was full of typos and horrible grammar. But it was basically all about how much he hates the Giants. Just all about how much he hates the Giants. Just can't stand the Giants. And obviously, from the tone of his article, the Phillies and their fans are extremely bitter about Hunter Pence. And I don't think that they'd be bitter just about Hunter Pence coming to another team, because obviously, that's part of baseball. I think it's the way that Hunter Pence embraced this team when he got here. I always kind of thought he really liked being in Philadelphia. That's the way it seemed at the time. Mm-hmm. But I'm starting to get the feeling maybe he secretly just couldn't stand it, because, Phillies fans are kind of notoriously rough, right, on their team, on the guys on their team. And when things are going good, they're great, right? But when things aren't going so good, that's a tough place to play. And the fact that he was just so excited to be on this team, I think there's something to that. I think there's something to how it was for him in Philly that maybe we didn't all know. And he's just really happy to be in a place that's just going to support him all the time. And we supported him all through last year when he was not playing well. And we still found a way to have him become like a hero. And
no one was ever booing him when he was hitting 210 or 215.
No, nobody booed him at all. We loved the guy. You looked up the board and you're like, he's only hitting 215 with it. Oh, whatever. Yeah. But he also found a way to knock in runs, so it's all good. Yeah. But I just gotta say, I know some Phillies fans that are really cool guys, but there's something about those people, man. They have such hate in their hearts, They just hate everything and everybody. And I guess when you're the losingest team in the history of the sport, maybe that's what fosters that a little bit. But, they got a good team again. They should be happy. Their team is actually, with the additions of the two Youngs, they got Delman Young now playing right field, and they got Michael Young playing third base. And I definitely added some pop back into their lineup for them. And I don't know. They look to me like a scary team again. So
I got to give a shout out to Kevin Franzen, who of course is on the roster this year, and he tweeted out that he was obviously coming back to AT&T Park. He grew up in San Jose. He was a huge fan of the Giants, and it's actually pretty cool following him on Twitter, going back and looking at a lot of his photos. He's a major Sharks fan. He actually took a photo of one of those "This is Sharks Territory" metal signs in his full Phillies uniform, sitting on the Phillies logo on Veterans Stadium, right on the grass.
Awesome.
He's just sitting there, and he's all, "Sorry, Flyers fans, suck it." It was awesome.
That's great. That is great.
He's like an MLB player that is like a true fan of all sports.
I love that.
He was tweeting out from an A's game that he was at, late last year, and all that stuff. So he just kind of feels like one of those guys that is kind of like one of us that just kind of made it to the pros.
Yeah, like a fan who gets to play in the big leagues. Awesome. It would be great to see that guy come back to the Giants sometime later in his career and actually, fit into a team. Maybe Scudero moves on in a few years and we don't need a bunch of pop out of second base. We just need a solid guy. He might be the guy, and it'd be cool to see him back. I like that guy a lot. My new favorite guy is going to be Guillermo Quiroz. Not just for his home run, but for the fact that I feel much better when he's catching than I did with Hector Sanchez. And I don't want to beat up on Hector Sanchez too much. We have beaten up on him a little bit on this podcast. But Quiroz just has a much smoother demeanor, a much smoother way that he's catching the ball, that he's framing pitches. He just looks a lot better back there defensively. And I don't think we're giving up a lot offensively, especially the way that Sanchez have been hitting this year.
Yeah.
He just seems to have a better approach at the plate than Sanchez does. And, and he's been around baseball a little bit, and he's, I think he's a quality guy to play backup for us right now. We've had some we've had some interesting backup catchers over the years, and I've liked quite a few of them, and I really like this guy as well. So I'm happy to see him up, and I'm happy to see him contribute in such a large way, especially with that home run. I mean, that was fantastic to see, and we love to see when the guys who nobody really expects it from have moments like that. We're waiting for Noonan to have his walk off. It's time.
Noonan, yeah, no, well, he's a 6-year journeyman, and so he's got a lot of major league experience under his belt. So, it's not a surprise to see his catching skills have developed more than Hector Sanchez's. He's 7 years older than him. So
yeah, but he just looks more comfortable back there. And I was watching him catch the other day. I think it was it Kane? He's catching Kane, and he just. If the ball's a little on the outside, the glove didn't move that much, and it gives the guy a chance to get that call. So,
by the way, that was only his third career home run that he hit the other night, the walk-off.
Wow.
And he's got 270 career at-bats, so that's about 1 out of every 90 at-bats he hits a home run. So he picked a good time to do that.
Yeah, that's a long time coming right there,
It's
man.
a long time.
Wow. That's the thing. You come up in that spot, I don't think anyone's expecting you to hit a home run. They're trying to get ahead of you in the count. They're trying to, say, like, well, let's just go ahead and pitch the contact here. And, he just gets one on the sweet spot. Bang. Yep. All right, so let's hate on some people. I'm going to let you start this one, Chad. Who are you going to hate on right now?
All right, a little bitter, but the entire team of the San Antonio Spurs.
All right.
The refs and whoever was assigned to cover Ginobili on that three-pointer.
Well, I can tell you exactly what happened with that play. Bazemore
saw a double team.
Bazemore was the guy who ended up looking like he had covered the wrong guy.
But he was just filling it.
Well, actually what happened was Jarrett Jack and Harrison Barnes both came to cover Tony Parker. Mm-hmm. So they had two guys covering Tony Parker, and Bazemore was stuck between having to cover Boris Diaw, who was going down the lane, or Ginobili, where if he doesn't cover Boris, he gives up an easy layup.
Yeah,
we're only up by one.
Layup, yeah.
And if he doesn't cover Ginobili, he gives up wide open 3. So Bazemore actually made the right call. And then he actually made an incredible play to even get over and challenge the 3 because he actually got a hand in his face. So even though it was a wide open 3, he got to set up really nicely. Bazemore, he's an athletic guy and he's a really good defender. And he came over there and he got a hand in his face. And it was really, it was Jack or Barnes. One of those guys was supposed to stay on Ginobili, and they both cut and went and covered Parker. So it was just a poorly executed defensive play there. I mean, and then part of that is the way that Mark Jackson tells them to go out there and do the play. I mean, he was telling them basically to switch on all cuts and picks and stuff. And, when you have all these switches, it's, it creates possibility for confusion. So,
Yep.
I honestly, I think in that situation, what you do is you put, I personally would have liked to see Bogut in the game at that point.
Sure.
Which he wasn't in the game. And I'd like to see him under the basket, just waiting for someone to, attack the rim, and then you space out around the 3-point line, and try to deny the ball a little. But I think really you just try to make the shot harder because there's 4 seconds left. They have one chance. So make the shot as hard as possible. You know what I mean?
And you can't foul, so you gotta stay out of their face, basically.
Yeah, exactly. You can't foul.
Nah,
so
it was
denying the ball was tough.
You got to give credit to Ginobili. He missed every 3 in the game until that last one, and it's like, man, there's a pressure shot, and he made it. So kudos to him. I guess.
He still got that weird bald spot though. So
yeah, it's kind of strange. A little monkey thing going on.
All right, I'm going to hate on God because Mark Jackson.
Wait, lightning? Are you there? Is lightning struck you?
No,
okay?
No, it hasn't happened, dude. It has not happened.
Have you been forced out the window mysteriously?
I'm going to hate on God because Mark Jackson gives all credit to God and all glory to God, even when the guy asks him a question about, how the team played. Then he just deflects the question and says, "Oh, all glory to God." Like, okay, buddy, can we just answer the question that you just got asked, please? Don't just choose this as a time to try to give a sermon. But, hey, if God helped us win all those games, then this one must be on God, too. So God
is a Warriors fan, as we all know.
Yeah, excellent. So God decided to make us lose an 18-point lead in the fourth quarter, and God decided to have Ginobili's 3 go in there with 4 seconds left. And
some teams don't even score 18 points in the fourth quarter.
I know.
Well, I still don't understand that.
If we're a defensive team, we should be able to prevent with – I mean, they scored 8 points in a minute and 20 seconds. They basically closed the entire gap within, I think, 3 minutes. It was
It was a 16-point lead with 3-something left. But here's the thing. They were leading 104 to 88. 104 to 88. And then they tied at 106 to go in overtime.
Yeah, so we scored 2 points.
They scored 2 points?
Yeah.
So
with 6 minutes left or so. It was 2 points in 6 minutes. That's terrible. That's awful. And I mean, Steph Curry all of a sudden went cold, but again, he played the entire game. Give the kid a little rest. Give him those like end of the first quarter, end of the third quarter blows where you get him out with about a minute left or so. Yeah. And then he gets an extended break. I mean, we need him at the end of the games. We can't have him just be this guy who goes crazy every third quarter. 'Cause that seems what happens. He goes nuts in every third quarter. And then come fourth quarter time, he's tired, man. I could see it. The shots were flat. They were hitting the front of the rim. So, I mean, that's just to me. I mean, I'm sorry. I like Mark Jackson in a lot of ways, but dude, he's still got a lot to learn as a head coach. I'm just gonna put that out there. All right, why will we win it all? Let's talk about the Giants again.
All right, their offense is doing great right now. So if their starting pitching really turns it around to their classic Giants form, being number 2, 3, 4 in ERA, they're going to be almost unstoppable in the regular season. I mean, anything can happen in the playoffs, but man, they are looking good right now.
Absolutely, and yeah, if our starting pitching gets to even partially where it's supposed to be, we're going to run away with this thing. I mean, right now our starting pitching is absolutely struggling in a way that we really haven't seen in a long time. Towards the end of the season, September of last year, we saw this for a little bit. But not in April, not in May. We haven't seen this. So, yeah, starting pitching gets just at all going, and we're going to run away with this division for sure. All right, I'm going to go ahead and say that, again, offense. It's weird that we're talking about offense on this show right now.
This is not synonymous with the Giants.
No, this has not been where the Giants have been in since Bonds left, basically. I mean, 2002 was the last time I can remember us being a real offensive powerhouse. And right now, we seem to be a team that is capable of coming back in any ball game. And I'm expecting 3-run homers now, all of a sudden, And that's not something I ever thought was going to happen before. I mean, you remember the stretch of time where we had something like 20-something solo home runs in a row before we finally hit one with somebody on base. I mean, that's not what's happening now. Now guys are teeing off with the bases juiced, and it's fantastic. So keep that rolling. Giants, you're never out of any ball game, and that's why we will win it all. All right, Chad, we really rocked through this one. That was good.
Little caffeine infused Warrior loss infused speed edition.
We decided to not start the podcast until the game was over, which honestly that game was worth watching every second of.
It was, even though it was a loss. It was exciting. It's going to go down in NBA history as one of the better games. So.
Yeah, a double overtime game where at the end we're up 1 with 4 seconds left. I mean, come on. Bazemore scores that go-ahead bucket, too. Holy crap. Did that come out of nowhere? But, I mean, anyway, so we started this really late, and we just wanted to get through it, and we wanted to get you guys a show. We don't want to skip any more shows. So, had to get in there, had to talk about the Giants, especially after winning 6 in a row. Really looking forward to the rest of this series that we got against the Phillies. We haven't seen them in a while, so looking forward to the rest of that. And we'll be back next week. I want to thank everybody for listening to this very, very short, very, very down, bitter, maybe a little bit episode of the Torture Cast, episode 47, the Rod Beck episode. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can find us at TortureCast. You can also follow each one of us individually. Chad is at ChadK21. Ben, who is not here tonight, is at Fried Duck. Me, Willie Dills, is at Willie Dills. You can also find our blog at torturecast.com. Chad, you actually just posted a new one last week, right? So
yes,
blog
I did.
Post to check out there. So go
check
ahead.
that out.
Yeah, go ahead and read that.
A little breakdown on vocal song.
Leave some comments if you want to. I want to also give another quick bump to 2 Out Hits. That guy was fantastic on the show last week, so go check him out. And there you go. That's gonna do it. Like us on Facebook. Donate if you want to using the PayPal button on our podcast page. All right. Send in questions, comments, naked pictures, anything you want. Absolutely. We take it all. So for the absent Ben Lee and the present Chad King, my name is Willie Dills, and we'll see you next time. Boom. A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.